pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we always do, let us remain standing and offer a moment of silence for our troops. Thank you. Welcome to the Village Board Workshop meeting. It's September 27th, 7 p.m. Roll call, Trustee Barone.
Present.
Trustee Corrigan.
Present.
Trustee Alpert.
Present.
And Trustee Sauberman.
Present.
We have a quorum. Establishing the next meeting. The next regular meeting is scheduled for October 4th at 7 p.m. And the next workshop meeting is October 25th at 7. Then the following meeting is the Monday before Election Day, which we normally change, so that would be November 1st. Change the November 1st meeting to the 8th. Does the board have any conflict with that?
I agree.
November 1st becomes November 8th. It's not listed.
Okay. Fire Department, Chief Jeremy Cole, where you go?
Good evening. The only thing we have on the agenda tonight is one new member application for the hook and ladder. John Cabezas, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Okay, so we have the resolution here accepting John Cabezas as a new member over 18 in the hook and ladder.
Yep.
Do I have a motion on that?
Motion, Trustee Alpert.
Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Sauberman.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Keep up the good work. You guys did a great job at the car show yesterday.
Thank you.
It was
Very
really
good.
a great day.
That was a great show.
Glad you got so many cars. That was huge.
It was. I don't know if it was bigger than last year, though. I think it was.
Well, last year, was there one last year with COVID?
Yeah, it was just on the one, the eastern half of Lafayette.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was probably
And when
just-
you walked through later on, you didn't even know it was there.
Yeah.
Again, Joe, where are you? I can't, I have my glasses on, I can't see that far. You guys did an outstanding job once again. Street Fair Day and the car show. You guys are getting slammed.
Oh, and great job at the Foxwood Pond. That looks wonderful.
No, it doesn't. It's off to the right. It's got to be centered.
We'll just keep taking the pictures going the other way.
No, it was a rush job. We're not completely done with it. We just wanted to satisfy your need and all of your constituents'
A
needs
lot of constituents.
to have it there.
Thank you.
I mean, we're deep in the middle of FEMA projects, but we broke away and did it
Thank
real
you.
quick.
Good work.
More to come.
Okay.
Police Department, Chief Loughlin.
Good evening, everyone. So far, in the month of September, we've responded to a little over 720 calls for service. In addition to our normal patrol duties, we participated in the Suffern Street Fair. We had a booth set up. We handed out candy and some informational coloring books to children, as well as T-shirts and coffee mugs, to adults. We had the Dare Corvette and Dare Truck on display. We received positive feedback from everyone at the Street Fair and look forward to participating in next year's. Our Dare hockey program is up and running. Our team draft was completed and opening night is this Friday, October 1st at 5:30 p.m. So if anybody wants to stop by and attend, you're more than welcome to. All the games are going to be played on Friday evenings. We have a total of 8 teams. 4 of them consisting of the second to fourth graders and 4 teams for the 5th and 6th graders. Several of our officers are volunteering their time to coach teams so we can make this season a success for the kids. As you all know, Suffern Day is this Saturday, October 2nd. We're all set for the event. We have multiple law enforcement agencies have committed to attending. I have a list if the board is so inclined to hear it, otherwise we'll see it on Saturday. As for agenda items, the only agenda item I have is at the board meeting, I'll be asking the board to nominate Mr. Stephen Dunn as a part-time police officer. Mr. Dunn is retiring from a police agency with over 20 years of experience. I've had the opportunity to speak to a few board members about him in the past. and made them aware of his unique qualifications, which have made him highly sought after by several agencies. Mr. Dunn's a certified level 1 commercial vehicle inspector. That's the highest level certification, and it's the same that the New York State Department of Transportation commercial vehicle inspectors possess. That gives him the ability to inspect all mechanical equipment such as brakes, all the equipment that the level 2 inspectors are not qualified to inspect. His expertise in commercial vehicle enforcement will allow our department to hold commercial vehicle checks without the assistance from the Department of Transportation or other outside agencies if we're so inclined to do so. In addition to the certification, he's also a police general topics instructor and a defensive tactics instructor. These certifications will allow him to instruct our officers in commercial vehicle enforcement, defensive tactics, and a whole array of other areas at no training cost to the village. I'm thrilled personally that Mr. Dunn has chosen to come work for our agency despite having numerous other offers from local agencies for his employment. I believe he'll be a real asset to the police department and the residents of Suffern. I have 2 other items, and not really agenda items. I just wanted to bring them up for the board's consideration.
Can we just step back for 1 minute?
Sure.
With the nomination of the officer, so we have the resolution ready to go. Would you like to move forward with it? Would the board be so inclined to do so? So I have the resolution authorizing the nomination of Stephen Dunn to the position of police officer part-time. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby nominates Stephen Dunn to the position of police officer part-time pending final certification and qualifications by Rockland County personnel. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I so move.
Trustee Sauberman, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but you had 2 other
No, I
items.
appreciate it, thank you. So the first item I wanted to bring up for the board's consideration is a request by the Rockland County Police Academy for vehicles. As you know, the Rockland County Police Departments rely on the Police Academy for the initial and in-service training of our officers. The Academy has advised the County Police Chiefs Association that they have a shortage of vehicles which they use for training and safety purposes, such as driving behind the classes as they perform their runs and physical training. Last month, we surplus 3 older vehicles, and I wanted to inquire if the board would consider donating one of those vehicles to the Police Academy to use. The Kelly Blue Book value of all 3 of those vehicles is under $2,000, so Michael can probably speak to this better than me, but I would assume we're going to get less than the Kelly Blue Book value if we do auction the vehicles. Seeing that our agency utilizes the Academy for training, and our officers would directly benefit from the donation, as well as the fact that the Sheriff's Department donated approximately $30,000 of LPR equipment to our agency last month, I would be in favor of the donation if the board is so inclined.
So they're looking for 1 radio
One
car?
vehicle, yes.
1 vehicle? Do we have a vehicle that's suitable, that will fit?
They
their
came and
needs,
took
that
a look at
runs?
them to see
Right.
if it was even feasible, and any of the 3 Crown Victorias, they're not using them really for
For
patrol
police.
purposes.
Right, right.
They're using them as to do mock car stops, or when their class is running, doing their physical training, they put a car in front of them and a car behind them so they don't get, hit by other vehicles. That's all they're looking for.
And they only want 1 of the 3?
One of the vehicles, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you would like to vote on that Monday?
That's fine. I just wanted to bring it to the board's
Right.
attention that
Okay.
there was a request made and that, we may be in a position to make a
How does
donation.
the board feel?
Good. Yes.
Okay, so I can put
Okay.
that on the agenda
Yeah.
for the next meeting. The last item I wanted to discuss with the board was the status of our current vehicle fleet. As the board is aware, I requested 2 new police vehicles in the budget for this year, and for financial reasons, the decision was made to fund 1 vehicle. As I made the board aware of during the budget preparations, myself, the DPW supervisor, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Genito have had lengthy discussions, and we feel that a replacement of 1 vehicle a year will not be sufficient to upkeep the fleet. A 1 vehicle per year replacement schedule will likely cause the village to have to purchase multiple vehicles in some of the upcoming years in order to keep the fleet operational. I would like to ask the board if they would consider using some of the COVID relief funds that we received or are receiving from New York State to purchase another police vehicle during this budget cycle. Just as a point of information, a fully equipped patrol vehicle costs approximately $50,000, and an unmarked vehicle is somewhere in the range of $30,000. Purchasing a second vehicle this year, while the funds are available, would lessen the burden in upcoming budget cycles and allow us to get on a more regular and predictable replacement schedule for our fleet. I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention as the purchase, it seems like a good time to do it, as the purchase wouldn't come out of, taxation of the local taxpayers, and the funds are actually coming from the state, not the residents. So I just wanted to bring this up for the board's consideration and see how the board feels.
Sounds like a great idea. Mr. Genito, were those cars eligible under the Alpert program?
Yes, those funds are eligible under what they call the lost revenue portion of the ARPA funding, which we do have sufficient funds there. As you may recall, last month I presented a report to the board, a short report, indicating how much was in lost revenue, and we're recalculating that. Actually, it's going to be a higher number because we can now include sewer monies and other funds.
And that will allow us still to get the 2 cheap cars, and if the street department needs some new trucks too, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, as the whole point of the report to the board was to point out something that Charles had mentioned that his department could use. We talked about the fire department with the 2 chief's cars that we would have been issuing debt to buy this year, but the board approved the purchase under the ARPA money. The additional police car is another solid use for the money.
Excellent.
And other than that, I mean, other than some vehicles and stuff, of course, the improvements to the water and sewer plants are always out there, but I asked the board to defer on that at this point because we already received very good grants and low-interest loans on both of those areas of expenditure. So as much as we can spend on other purposes, it's more appropriate.
Thank you.
Well,
That's all I have.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, the new car would be a regular marked patrol car.
Unmarked.
So it would depend on what the board is comfortable with. I mean, we need them in both areas. One of our unmarked cars right now, we're using that vehicle that we had gotten from the fire department, which I don't think has much life left in it. There's unmarked vehicles and marked vehicles that are both going to need to be replaced.
So would we have sufficient funding of around $80,000 in the lost revenue side?
Yes, as I pointed out in the report, it's over 600,000. Now, to date, we've received 500 and some odd thousand. So the question is whether you want to buy those 2 cars. I did talk to the chief at length, as he had mentioned as well, Joe Hunt, and I believe that if the village got onto a regular purchase of 2 cars a year, that would be sufficient to provide an updated fleet that would be able to respond without any kind of concerns for the officer or the public safety. Right now, as you know, the way we've been doing it, it's either 1 car a year, sometimes they skip a year, another year they'll buy 4 cars or 3 cars by borrowing money, and it's really not a sustainable program, especially since these cars are needed to be replaced every so often.
All right.
Just so the board is aware, I know that in the past we had talked about, getting all of our cars up to, good running condition and so on and so forth. So the problem that we have with that is we get the cars to where, mechanically they're sound and they're in good running order. We had an incident, I don't know, a month or 2 months ago where 2 officers were driving a car en route to somewhere and the car died on them. So even if we get the cars where they're mechanically sound, they're still older cars and you can't really predict when things are going to go wrong with them. So we've had a few instances of that. We had an instance quite a while back when an officer was responding to a domestic dispute involving a knife and his car died on the way to the call and he had no way to get there. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that, even when we get the cars up to, what we're saying is, good running condition, they're still, 2009s, 2010s, and they do break down where it's something that we can't predict.
So it'd be good to move forward with the one marked and one unmarked. That's what I would agree
great,
with.
but,
Yeah.
as far as the replacement schedule, we had looked at different things and come up with some different ideas. If we were to replace the 2 cars every year, you wouldn't run into those problems where, you're replacing, 1 year we have to go for 3 or 4 cars. If we're replacing 2 cars a year and down the road, it looks like all of our stuff is in good condition, maybe we wouldn't have to, go ahead and replace
Understood.
the
Yeah.
2 that year, but, we're kind of on the curve where we've fallen behind, and we sort of need to get caught back up just to be in a good spot.
So would 2 be good to move forward with now, or do we need 3?
Well, I mean, two, I think would be sufficient.
Okay, okay.
All right, so we budgeted for 1, and now we could buy another one with this COVID money.
2.
Another one or two.
Another one with the COVID money.
It's the
Not
lowest.
another
2 with the
two.
COVID money.
Another one.
1 marked, 1 unmarked, that's what they're looking for.
Is there some
That's
particular
what I'm
reason
agreeing
why
to.
virtually all the police cars, in fact, that have been purchased in the last several years have been SUVs as opposed to the Crown Vics?
Only because, well, they don't make Crown Vics anymore.
Okay.
They have a similar vehicle, so the vehicles we're purchasing are not actually Explorers, they're police interceptors, they're the police package. I've seen it over years where when you try to buy a regular, standard vehicle and you use it for police work, the thing falls apart in no time. These vehicles have stronger suspensions, the cooling systems are more robust because they sit in idle for long periods of time. So we had a Durango a few years ago that was purchased as a regular, just regular, that anybody could go buy one off the lot, and the thing fell apart in no time. They just don't hold.
Well, Durango is also an SUV.
Right, so the police interceptors, they make 2 versions of it. They make an SUV version and they make a sedan version.
Sedan, right.
The pricing is almost exactly the same. There's no cost savings to go with the car.
Okay, that's
So,
an
yeah,
important
so the
consideration.
SUV, I
That's
kind of
really
figured
where
that's where you were going with it.
Yes.
The SUVs are all-wheel drive, they have more room, you can use them in the winter with no issues, and, to pay the same amount of money for a sedan, it doesn't make sense.
That's surprising that it's the
So,
same, because I
yes.
know for regular cars usually.
It might be a couple $100 difference, it's not in the thousands at all. It's the same, actually, chassis, it's everything, it's just the body's different.
All right,
Thank you.
okay. So how does the board feel about that? 1 radio car, 1 marked car, and 1 unmarked car.
Sounds good to me.
This is in addition to the marked vehicle that
Correct.
we already approved.
Yes,
Yes,
in the
so-
budget. This is
Can we
gonna
have a
be
few
come
minutes
from
to
lost
think about it?
revenue and ARPA money.
Do we have to make the decision
No.
this evening?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm going to digest
Okay.
this.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Cathy Mills, Miss Mills.
Good evening. I feel bad if Fred's head keeps
very
going all the way. So you have my agenda, the only other additions to it is on October 7th, we have Artie time, that's at 1 p.m. And then as I sent an email out today, Suffern Day is coming up, and we invite everybody to the opening ceremony, which is at 11 o'clock on Saturday, not Sunday, Saturday, October 2nd, so come to Suffern Day for the 11 o'clock opening ceremony. And the bottom item that I have there, Chamber of Commerce Halloween Pub Crawl, the date is October 29th. I don't know if you saw that on your agenda, I didn't put the date.
Where is Suffern Day gonna be?
Down at the ball fields, so you're gonna drive down to the ball fields, and you'll see it's, the entire complex is taken for Suffern Day.
Great, thank you.
I know you sent an email out today about volunteers.
Yes,
Can you put me in for, I don't know what time, can you just throw me, I have a wedding in the morning,
okay,
and I'll be leaving the wedding, coming to Suffern Day,
okay,
and then I have a very important birthday party late in the afternoon.
yes.
So I do plan on coming for a few hours, so if you have a hole in your schedule, I'd love to volunteer.
Okay, perfect. We'll take-
Sorry
we'll
not
take-
to
we'll
have
take-
more details there, but
That's all right, no, we'll take any,
everything's happening on
Volunteers.
October 2nd.
Yes, I know, so it's feast or family.
Yes.
Got everything, and then, so.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's it.
Cathy.
All right.
Mr. Sawicki.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so 2 resolutions that we're going to be, I'll pose this question to Rob, are we going to be, the board voting on them tonight? Okay.
Yeah, we need to, right?
Yeah, it'd be preference to do that. All right, so it'd be to authorize the general construction contract with TAM Enterprises, Goshen, New York, in the amount of $1,795,000. That is for the well houses number 2 and 4, and that's the Gosher project.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
have the resolution authorize the general construction contract with TAM Enterprise in the amount of $1,795,000 for the GOSA project number New York CR 0255. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the discussion,
How is this being funded? Is this through bonds or,
GOSA money,
oh, motion? Very good. Thank you.
Actually, it's a combination.
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 I want to ask Charles, it's so pathetic that we only have, thanks, that we only have one bid, you know, and the,
Well, we had two bids.
we had two, but the other one was,
Yeah,
yeah,
since was disqualified.
I saw. In other words, nobody else wants to bid?
Apparently so.
Apparently so.
Nobody wants to work, Fred, where you been?
Sometimes, I mean,
Try and get a contract
it's hard,
for your house.
it's hard to predict. Sometimes you have a project, you might have 5, 6, 10 bidders.
Yeah.
And then in other cases, you only have 1 or 2.
The reason I mention that is because here we have a bid for $1.7 million.
Right.
The other one was no good. And all that money, nobody else wants to grab that big money?
Well, you know, the other thing that contractors consider is the type of project. I mean, it's a specialty type contract. You need certain expertise, certain skill set to complete or execute the project, so.
Like that
Yeah,
other
it's-
bid was disqualified because he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
You couldn't do
it
it.
would be nice to be able to get the lower bid that came in, however.
I know we couldn't.
Yeah. if he's
For the
not
benefit
gonna
of the
get-
public, can you explain what happened with that lower bid, for the benefit of anyone
Yeah,
watching this?
well, we had 2 bids for that project. The low bid contractor, after review by Gosher and our construction manager, it was determined that it was a non-responsive bid, meaning he was unable to complete the project. Didn't have the skill set, didn't have the manpower, the resources, the equipment, or even the experience, you know, specific experience, prior experience to do that type of work. And the odd thing about it was, after our construction manager sat down with him, he actually thanked him. He said, "Thank you very much. You got me out of trouble." So, you know, it's unfortunate every once in a while you do run across that, so.
Well, I'll just say, it's sad to see only one bid for such an expensive, and the amount became expensive, $1.7 million. It's sad to see just one proper bid.
Yeah, well, you know, if you, go out for bids and you get, say, 4 or 5 bids, and you have 3 bids that are very close, you feel very comfortable that
Right. It's
a
not
bid
your
is
fault.
solid and you got a good value. But, you know, unfortunately, we didn't have that this time.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion passed.
All right, so next items would be a resolution. This would be for authorizing the electrical contract with Neil Electric and Communications in the amount of $493,461. And again, that is for the well houses number 2 and number 4 Gosher project.
Have the resolution authorizing the award of electrical contract with Neil Electric and Communication Company in the amount of $493,461 for the GOSA project 0255. Do I have a motion?
I'd make such a motion.
Trustee Sauberman, do I have trustee Corrigan? Any further discussion?
Is that like the other, it's Gosher money, it's not?
Yes,
building?
yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Were there multiple bids on that?
Yes, there were 4
5.
bids. 4 or 5? Okay, 5 bids. Okay, next item, again, a resolution authorizing payment application for payment number 2 to Capole Services Inc. for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project. Contract 1G in the amount of $326,470.92.
We have the resolution authorizing payment number 2 to Capola Service, Inc. for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project, contract 1G, in the amount of $326,470.92.
Motion, trustee Alpert.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
How many, now this is payment number 2, how many payments overall will there be on this particular line item?
Well, that project is a larger project, and there's certainly going to be multiple applications. I would say we could be looking at 7, maybe 8 applications, just a guess. Okay, next item will be a discussion regarding the amendment to the budget. So, as everyone is most likely aware, that to fill a position, a union position here in the village, we need to post that position for 10 days. That posting runs out October 1st. However, so far we have no one interested, internal, and it does look like we'll probably have to go outside, and that'd be something that Michael, I think, already ran through some numbers. The numbers you ran through were for a new hire, I believe, right?
The numbers I presented to the board, which is in that proposed resolution, is for a starting salary of that position. Step 1, grade 10, I believe it is.
Right, that's great. So, we won't, we'll know until October 1st to be certain that we don't have anybody, but it doesn't appear that anyone is interested
At this time.
Yeah, at this time.
Okay.
So, and then of course we have Rob, and I believe Rob and Michael were made some adjustments on a contract for JCO. And I would think that probably make that adjustment at one time with the operating costs. And
15,000, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're currently paid them what, 20?
26,
Right.
7 something.
Right, so the intention is to start that October 1.
Right.
Yeah, well, right now, there's sufficient money in the budget to pay JCO to 15 as opposed to 26 a month. So we don't have to make an adjustment to the budget for that purpose. If indeed we don't have somebody interested and you believe that you're going to be hiring somebody at step 1 sometime after the meeting of October 4th, I would suggest that we could go with this resolution to amend the budget October 4th.
Yeah, and most likely if I had to go outside, there would be an interview process. Most likely won't be to the November meeting,
Right.
or maybe if you want to do something.
And we can hold off that resolution until November, just to be
Okay.
sure.
Okay, all right, where are we? So vehicles. So, we have some old vehicles. I honestly think we have the oldest DPW vehicles in the county, pretty safe to say. Any event, one just recently was taken out of service. And I did distribute, does everyone have that list? If not, I have some copies here.
I'll take a copy,
Yeah, okay.
please.
Yeah, that's all for that position. Okay.
Oh, I got it, thank you. Yes, okay.
Okay, so we have 4 vehicles that are, they're beyond old, they're ancient. They're, as you can see, there's the 2001 Dodge Dakota, and it's a real testament to the street supervisor and his mechanics to hold these vehicles together for as long as they've had. And we've reached the point now that, Band-Aids or rubber bands really don't do it. So we're looking to see what we can do in terms of working on the, against this list to get some new vehicles, and hopefully we can use some of that COVID money that we've been speaking of. So one thing that's on the third item down, there's a, let's see, the replacement, I'm sorry. The second item down, where we're looking at requesting a lift and go truck and plow. So in addition to that, which isn't on this sheet, would be a request for a stainless steel dump body that would be used at the wastewater treatment plant. So for quite some time, we've been looking at trying to retire the need for a dump truck to sit in the process building where it collects this, goes through the,
Grit chamber.
well, it goes through the press, and the sludge then goes into essentially a dump truck and is brought to Hillburn. So what we would do here is eliminate the fact of trying to have a mechanical piece of equipment sitting there. And it's, you know, because of the exposure to the sludge, there's a lot of corrosion that occurs over time, and that causes a lot of problems for Joe and his mechanics. So a lot of money also. I mean, it costs a lot of money to keep this thing mobile. So the thought process here is that we get this second lift and go, we would then also buy a stainless steel dump body that would have the ability to essentially roll it into the area where the sludge is discharged into where the truck used to be. We wouldn't have to have a truck. We would have the lift and go to be able to pull it out as required, bring it over to Hillburn, bring the container back, and this would eliminate the need for any mechanical work on the dump body. And the dump body, how old is that? It's quite old anyway, right?
It was in 99.
Yeah, 99.
So the container you're talking about, in my simple language, could I kind of refer to it as like a big dumpster?
Yeah, it'd be like a container.
And
It's
then
like a container.
the truck that picks it up is the truck that comes and picks up a dumpster.
Right. Very
And
similar,
then
very, very similar. yeah.
While you're delivering it, do you need another dumpster to wheel in place?
Well,
So
we,
that you need two of the
Well-
containers?
we wouldn't need that because we could schedule our, because, you know, we have it relatively, I mean, fortunate for us, we're very close to Hillburn. So that was a round trip, an hour, usually.
If that,
So, yeah, they would just not run the press for that period of time. So there wouldn't be a need for a second container.
Is there gonna be a reduced amount of sludge with the new system we're putting in at the wastewater treatment plant that would not, like, we wouldn't need that large of a container?
Well, the press that we have, the purpose is to dry the sludge, get the dry, it's dry, the drier it is, the lighter it is, and so on and so forth. I'm unaware of the fact that it would be less.
Just gonna be dry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be less, I mean, you know, and it would probably be the same, it'd be, the percent solids would be pretty much the same, because the equipment is the same. It's just the hauling process would be different. So, you know, just, and they, I think at this time they're doing, they don't even run a load every day, so it's, you know, it's, they are able to schedule those deliveries easily enough without interrupting operations.
And we already have a very similar truck. Is it the same
Right,
truck?
Right, they're looking at the same, same vehicle.
Same vehicle.
yeah, we have a Freightliner hook and go, we're gonna go
Right.
with International.
International hook and go, and then we're really just gonna add tack on to the stainless steel dump body.
Right,
Tack that on.
right, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The stainless steel dump body is corrosion free for the atmosphere that we're putting in. The steel just corrodes. We already
Right.
replaced the body once on that truck that we used.
And the electrical system impacted,
Oh my
right?
God, let's not go there with copper.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So,
Mr. Genito, I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Genito was raising his hand.
Yeah, no, just a quick note. Charles has this list of vehicles, and as he pointed out, they're looking at the state contracts to get some pricing estimates. My suggestion would be that Charles gather those numbers and present them to me. I can put those together with the other information we already have, the money that we have received already from ARPA.
Right.
And then, for instance, we've already committed $50,000 for the, what was that? The
Garbage truck.
garbage truck with plow. right? 130,000 for 2 fire chief vehicles. Depending on what the board decides on the police vehicles, it could be 30, 50, or 80,000. And then these numbers here, so you can see the $500,000 we already received can go pretty quick. The bottom line is that we can present it to the board, and between the board and the department heads, determine what are the priorities for the village in terms of what to get. We also have some other things. One is the network upgrades for the buildings, not only this building, but the firehouses, water plant, and the sewer plant. So we're trying to get some numbers on that as well. But that way the board can make an informed decision, at least on this first half. We are going to get a similar amount of money in the summer of 2022. So it's, you know, what we can buy this year, that's great. And if we have to wait until the summer of 22 for other things, we'll have that, again, that informed decision. We can put that into a plan.
Great. Can you get him that information?
Yes,
Charles?
yeah, matter of fact, Joe's already started the process, we
Okay.
have some information.
We'll get it all on one list so we can see it.
Absolutely, yeah. Basically what we would do is, and it's actually good to do this, because in addition to the report that I gave you, I'm going to be providing you with short reports every month on where we are with the COVID and the money, and whatever happened that might have changed over time, because it is continually changing in terms of the landscape out there. Yes, there would be a list, and it would say, here's what we have, here are the projects being proposed. The board can make decisions how much they want to spend for each one of those things, and then we would have a plan to go forward, make resolutions. So it's going to require board resolutions to use that money. And then, of course, we have to keep very good records of that, very detailed records for the federal government.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, so the next two items are projects. So, I don't know, it was about 5 weeks ago or so, Michael was asking for some information on some projects to submit to the EFC to get on in their queue, essentially. Two of these projects are here. One is for the Well House Emergency Generator Project, and the other one is for the activated carbon filtration modifications. That was something that we discussed a while ago regarding purification of the water. And we had some issues that we wanted to get ahead of and stay ahead of. So I'd like to see what Michael thinks as well. I have proposals from Pingera and Deutsch to start the process, start the engineering work for these two projects. And I have some copies of their proposal if the board would like to see them. And each one is around $45,000 or so. Let me pass these. This one here is for the emergency generator. This would give us the ability to get a better handle on the project, the cost, the scope and project cost, and also essentially get us a jump start on the project itself. This was so the county health department has identified this as a deficiency and a violation that we don't have an emergency generator at the well fields. So that's another item that we take in consideration. So this proposal, so Pingera and Deutsch has been working closely with the water department on many different issues, and this one here is for $47,800. They at this time they're projecting just the construction cost. There's other fees involved, but just the construction cost, I believe, is around $550,000. And for the other one, put that down here. this one here is for the activated charcoal filters.
And that's to reduce the PFOAs and the PFOs. Yeah.
Okay, their fee for this particular project would be $42,000, and their preliminary project estimate's $450,000. So what that would be involved with that project. We currently have a activated charcoal system that was goes back 3 decades ago, that was installed because of a situation that arose and needed to address purifying the water. It was taken, it was only used for a very short period of time, it was taken out of service. However, it still could be, that system could be reactivated, and very little modifications to, probably the big cost here is to evacuate the activated charcoal that are in these large tanks, and to purchase new activated charcoal. So that would be the biggest cost for that project. There's very little modifications to the existing system, so it would be very advantageous to take advantage of that.
And I don't think anything could be more important than guaranteeing to our residents that what comes out of their tap is safe.
Absolutely, yeah. So, as you know, we had some discussion early on, the potential for issues down the road. Right now, we're okay, but, down the road, we don't know. We'd be in a position to treat any of those issues that might arise.
So the fees that are in the 40,000s, that's just
Engineering stuff.
engineering
Yeah,
fee.
right.
But these projects cost 4, 5, hundreds of thousands
Right.
of dollars a piece.
Right.
Where do we get that money?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Michael was, on top of it in terms of, and Michael, you can speak to it. We were in the queue for EFC, and I'm not sure, where's that stand? Is that something we had to put in to get, there's a certain deadline to get into the queue on these projects. So, I don't know when we'd get a response. You have any idea when that would be?
No, we haven't received a response yet. That's on what they call their annual update plan. So, but basically the IUP, it's called. And the bottom line is the EFC will get that number out to us probably, I think sometime in October is when we had to have it in by July, those different projects. So it may or may not be accepted by them, and we may or may not be able to get financing through them. But I will also mention that on Wednesday morning, Charles and I are going to meet with our grant writer about the latest WIA grants, which are the water grants that New York State has for water improvement projects. We've been very successful at actually combining both things, getting a grant for the water improvement combined with very low interest financing through the EFC. So hopefully we could continue that with something like this. In terms of the money for the studies themselves, though, I don't know that you had that in the budget for the water fund?
Yeah, this would be the study, it would essentially be the design engineering work.
Right.
For the project. And I believe we had that, along with construction management, I believe we had that covered. And I have it in here somewhere, but...
Oh, well, just send me the information
Yeah.
where you believe it was covered.
Yeah, I think that was the, your submittal, let me find this one paper.
Mike,
It is a
the
big
line
file.
get us any money from New York State? The line to the senator.
Oh, Melnick?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he help us get any
Has
money?
he helped us get any money?
Well, most recently, we were notified that we were awarded the grant through DASNY, through his office, for $200,000 for the garbage truck to plow. We haven't, it doesn't get finalized until we receive the final agreement signed off by DASNY. Because that's the process, it goes to his office, from his office, it goes through the state agency that handles that. I believe that we've also applied for $50,000. The fire department actually did that, for an ATV with trailer. That has gone to the senator's office, and I believe
He's submitting.
September 24th, he sent something to the fire chief indicating that it has been submitted through his office, and now they're waiting for other approvals from DASNY and so forth.
They're all SAM grants, right?
They're all, yes, that's the municipal, improvements from municipalities, yes, they're all.
And it's limited value from each representative. They get allocated.
Oh, but this was for the EFC financing.
Right, right.
Yeah, so this hasn't necessarily been approved.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we did put it into the budget, right?
Right, well, we put it in, what Charles is talking about here is, we put in for engineering studies for these two projects as part of the cost to the EFC, but we haven't been approved by the EFC for any kind of financing on it.
Right.
So, for instance, we couldn't give an order to proceed to the engineers to start their study because we don't have it funded yet.
We'd have to start with the EFC, present it to them, get the approval from EFC, and then utilize the funds for the engineering and design.
Correct, as long as we get the
Right.
financing through them, and then we have the typical process of adopting a bond resolution, that would be paid off from that.
So
Otherwise, the water fund itself does have a contingency of 100,000, but obviously these two things alone would eat it up. Am I right? 47,000 for one, and I don't know that you want to do that at this stage in the game.
The only reason I'm bringing it up tonight is that if we're getting a response in possibly next month, you're saying, possibly? Yeah, that'd be great, but if we have to wait, we're not gonna get approved and then you have to wait another year. I don't know if that'd be advisable to wait that long. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to put it on the table now and have that discussion and then see where we're at. But if we can get EFC financing and get it within the next few months, that'd be a home run for sure. But you have to wait another year or so. I don't know if that'd be advisable. So I just,
And it'd be one project or two separate?
Well, it'd be two separate projects. It'd be two
But
separate
one
projects.
application to EFC?
Well, it's two separate applications, right?
Two separate applications are made, and by the way, the official name is the intended use plan. That's what I was trying to think of, IUP. The EFC basically gets all of these applications in from around the state. They then score them according to the need and what they're providing as an improvement against everybody that has applied. They have a pot of money that is in what's called a revolving fund. That comes from the Clean Water Act bonds that have been issued in the past on the federal level, and the EFC, Environmental Facilities Corp., acts as the handling agent for that money. And so we make the application. If we get listed in the intended use plan, at least if we get listed, we can probably get market rate financing from them at AAA rate that they get. If we make a certain score, the EFC will fund us 50% of the long-term interest cost, and 0%, they'll provide 0% financing for short-term. That's the really nice thing about going with them. In the meantime, again, we usually combine this stuff with other grants that we can get, and that helps us as well to get approved. And so if we get these grants in, along with the project, we end up spending a lot less money out of taxpayers or ratepayers.
Mike, if you mentioned the $100,000 in the contingency for the water fund.
Yes.
If we were to wait on the engineering studies, that would, cost about 80 some odd thousand or whatever this is that it adds to, towards the end of the fiscal year, if those funds were not yet tapped into, would it not be prudent to utilize that contingency rather than bond that $80,000 or $90,000?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, when we talk about bonding that money, it would be borrowing it on short-term notes. So, yeah, it's certainly a decision the board could make if they're getting towards the end of the fiscal year and everything else is looking good in the water fund, and you know, the balance is good on the
Right.
fund balance, certainly we could do that. But let's see what happens, because who knows if the grant comes through.
Grant would be
To Charles's point, if it's, you know, time sensitive, which it seems to be, and we don't get listed with the EFC IUP and we can't get the financing through them, we can always pass our own bond resolution anyway, which will be part of the process anyhow, and borrow it then on a loan.
Now, you had mentioned that we already have the charcoal
The activate charcoal system in
system.
place. Right.
So this 400 some odd $1,000 is just to replace the charcoal in that system?
Well, yeah, well, there's some modifications with the, you know, you have to go in and you have to sanitize, evacuate all
Right.
the existing
But
active
that's
charcoal.
the
So
entire.
there's a disposal cost for
I
that.
see.
There's, you know, the sanitation or, you know, essentially sanitizing the system. And, you know, some other tweaking, some modifications, some valves and some other things. And then activated charcoal itself is pricey as well. So that's the estimate at this point, yes.
All right. Thank you.
I think that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Genito.
Yes. Mayor, actually, the one item, I mean, other than an update on where we are with the audit and stuff like that, is we have Peggy Kurtz here with us from the Rockland Community Power. As you were presented at the last board meeting, or August 9th, I believe it was, the board meeting. Rockland Community Power is what's known as Community Choice Aggregate, wherein if the village were to sign up with the program, then the Rockland Community Power would provide a very competitive rate for the electric supply to all the residents of the village. It doesn't include the municipal buildings, but it includes the residents. Does it include businesses as well?
Small businesses.
Small businesses.
Under a certain amount of electric use.
Okay,
Yeah.
so small businesses and individuals. And so what would happen is, everybody would be switched over, and as a matter of fact, what they'd be switched over to is green energy.
This
Solar.
would be residences as well as small
Residents.
business and residents?
Yes, primarily residents and small businesses. So, you know, larger businesses that use a certain amount of electricity would not be eligible. Municipal buildings are not eligible, but the residents are and small businesses are. And what would happen is there would be a lot of educational outreach to the residents and to the village board and so forth to explain the program, how it works. It's called an opt-out program, which means that if we agreed to do it, if the board agreed to do this program, the residents would automatically be switched over at some point in time to an energy supplier that's providing green energy at a competitive cost. The residents can opt out if they wish. They can opt out or in any time they'd like. So I think that's in a nutshell what it is. It's been presented to the board. You know that the board was also presented with a possibility of using a program that ran through NICOM, New York EMP. I actually met with the representative up at the, in Albany, I'm sorry, in Saratoga for the NICOM full training school. And I don't think that they're actually ready for us yet. They do choice aggregate in the country, but they're predominantly Wesley Hills. That's about the only client I think they have in New York. But in any event, they're both good programs. I would say that they're both good programs. They both provide the benefit of green energy to the public at a competitive cost. And again, residents can opt out if they don't want to be in it. And if they decide later on they want to go back into it, they can.
So in your opinion, if we say yes to this, it fulfills the board's commitment to making Suffern greener at not much additional cost?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Peggy can bring up a couple other points. One of them that she and I discussed, along with one of her colleagues, just in this morning even, is, you know, we're going through an LED lighting program. And there are certain benefits that we would get as a community that's going with LED lighting for streetlights and also participating in the CCA. If you want, go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, I mean, I can talk, if you want me to talk specifically to that, yes, there's two state funding programs, Climate Smart Communities and Clean Energy Communities programs. So LED streetlights qualify you for a certain number of points in the CEC program, probably in both programs, actually. And community choice aggregation with renewable energy qualifies you for the most points of any impact, any action you can take in the Clean Energy Community Program.
So
And
there's,
it comes with opt-out community solar, which also qualifies you for a lot of points in that program. You get a certain amount of, you become a designated community, you automatically get $5,000 along with the designation, and then you're also kind of well on the way to the next level up, which is $10,000. And then there are other action grants within the Clean Energy Communities and Climate Smart Communities program. And I should mention also that Jewel has a giving back program to the community whereby Jewel donates to the community for a sustainability project of the community's choice. I just want to differ on one thing, and that is that you said that both administrators offer renewable energy. I know that Good Energy says that they offer renewable energy, but in fact, the only programs that I could find in New York State are all on what they call standard energy, which is fossil fuels.
We'll call it brown energy.
Brown energy. So Jewel, what they do is renewable energy, that's their area of expertise. So not only do they deliver renewable energy, but they have more innovative programs, and they deliver the renewable energy at lower cost. Actually, the lower, Jewel is one of the leaders on renewable energy, but also on low costs for renewable energy, because that's what they do in New York State. They just specialize in New York State renewable energy.
I have a question. So
Sure.
if a homeowner has solar, okay, during the day, they're generating their own energy essentially to run the house, and there might be some surplus that goes back to the power company. At night, almost always, they're drawing power from the actual power company, brown energy, if you will, from the power company. How does that work in terms of this system, which is a community plan? Can you explain?
Okay,
how
so there
that-
are two aspects to the program, and I know it does get confusing. It really does. So one is the basic electric supply. So that homeowner with solar panels on their roof, they are actually connected to the grid, almost surely. So they are feeding into the grid, and they're also taking out of the grid. With this program, whatever they take out of the grid will be renewable energy.
I didn't mean so much for the user that is solar. I was comparing it to a user that might be solar. So for a typical homeowner without solar,
Okay.
your system, obviously it can supply solar power generating energy during the day. Where does the power come from at night?
Okay, so wait 1 second. Let's stay with the hypothetical person who has the solar power on their rooftop. There's the second part of the program, which is that there's the basic electric supply, and then there's community solar, which adds on more local sources of renewable energy, obviously solar, right now they're all sited in Orange County. So I just wanted to mention that that hypothetical homeowner with solar panels on the rooftop can't get the community solar because they're getting the benefit of financial incentives from the state for their solar panels, so they can't double dip. Okay. Now, as to where the energy is coming from, for the basic electric supply, it's basically coming from what they call utility scale projects, mostly hydropower from upstate and some wind power from upstate. Eventually, it'll probably transition also to offshore wind, but these are very large projects, utility scale. Everything is just fed into the grid. The electrons that you're actually drawing from your household are just electrons.
Sure.
So when I'm driving around and I see at an intersection, like you pull off the thruway,
Okay.
and I see thousands of solar panels set up, that would be some of the energy that would be feeding into this system.
Right, that's probably, if you're in Orange County, there aren't any community solar projects right now in Rockland County. In Orange County, where the land is more available, that could be a community solar project,
The
yes.
one in Nanuet by Pfizer, whose solar panels are those?
You know,
It looks
I
like it's
haven't
public.
seen that. Everybody
That's on
asks me
public
about that.
property.
Everybody asks me about that. I don't know. It's not a community solar project.
The state put those in.
Okay. I know that Clarkstown put up solar panels on their landfill. I don't think they're visible, but yeah, you may be right. It's a very large project, and I know people don't like because it's unsightly, but it's not, that's not the idea, yeah.
So if there's a power outage, where do our residents go to from there?
Okay, so generally the power outages that we all experience are very local. They really are Orange and Rockland. Orange and Rockland continues to deliver the energy. They continue to deliver the energy even with this program. This is about changing out the source of the energy, the supplier, okay? Almost always, the power outages are local and they're with Orange and Rockland. They're still the ones to call. This won't increase the number of power outages. If anything, it makes the grid more resilient and more reliable. The idea, one of the reasons why the state is encouraging these projects is to make the energy sources more distributed, because we are seeing more extreme weather and more outages. So in case those large distribution lines that they carry a long distance go out, they're under some kind of problem, you have more sources feeding into the grid. So if anything, it makes it more resilient and more reliable. It probably will not dramatically decrease the local power outages, unfortunately, but it's not going to increase them either.
Okay. And for our older residents, they don't, like, because maybe I misunderstood. Everyone's automatically opt-in until you opt out?
Right, okay, so there's a lot of education that goes on before the program begins. The idea is we do as much outreach as we can. I understand we have a weekly e-newsletter, so we would put information in there about information sessions and maybe a blurb about it, speak at churches, at synagogues, mosques, whatever, senior groups, whatever there is, we'll go there, write articles. And so that at least by the time, so eventually there's a packet of information that goes to every eligible household. The idea is that by the time they get that packet, it's at least on their radar. They've heard something about it. It's not completely foreign. They understand this is a village program. It's not a scam. Because basically this is a relatively new program in New York State and in Rockland County. At some point along the process, after this public education period, then at some point along, I'll try to keep it short, a packet of information goes to every eligible household, obviously explaining the program with an FAQ, information about more public information sessions, and a postage paid postcard. All the person has to do is say, I want out, sign their name, stick it in their mailbox, and they're out. As Michael said, anybody can opt out at any time that they want. By the way, public information you can use after that. Anybody can opt out at any time. There's no contract for anything in the program. So I should mention also one of the benefits of working with Jewel is it's the only administrator to offer opt-out community solar. That means no contracts for consumers, single billing, it's all on the utility bill, much simpler enrollment process. There are some substantial benefits.
Worst case scenario for someone who is not paying attention.
Okay,
Their bill comes exactly the same.
exactly.
The charge will be probably really not noticeably different
Probably lower, but probably not.
and will be protecting future generations by generating less pollution.
Well said. Okay, yes, yes. I mean, some people don't even know. People call all the time and they don't know whether they're on the program or not. Because it's a little line on the bill. So, yes, yes.
Mike,
that's
if
correct.
the board was so inclined, could we vote on this at the next meeting?
Absolutely. I don't have any objections to it. I don't see a downside to the village. There's no financial investment that has to be made. There's nothing for us to lose in terms of that. And I think it's very positive in terms of the public perception of
Yes.
how we move forward as a
Yes.
green community.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it on the agenda then.
I would as well.
You know, listening to the discussion of the expensive contracts, I just wanted to mention, again, I know I mentioned it when I presented, I'll stop just a second, that there is no direct charge to the consumer and also no direct charge to the village. How they get paid is through a very small, I think it's like 7/100ths of a penny per kilowatt hour. It comes to about $7 per year per household, for the average household, that is paid by the supplier. So that will obviously be in the cost that you see when we sign the contract. But there's no direct cost to the village. Nothing is binding until the very end of the process, when you know what the actual bids will be.
So, but it would be engaging Jewel to go out for a bid, correct?
Correct.
So you have a contract that you would send to us,
Yes. so
right? And that's what you're talking about, the 0.7 or whatever, that's how Jewel gets paid.
Correct, from the supplier.
Right, okay.
Right,
So, yeah, if you want to send it to Michael and
okay.
start that process.
Yeah.
That's the first step, is
Right, the first step,
agreeing to the contract
So
with
the-
Jewel.
there are two first steps. The first step is to pass what's called the CCA enabling law. And that law is basically, my understanding is, it's making explicit the authority that the village already has under home rule to do this kind of program, which is actually encouraged by state programs. And the template law for that, we can supply you with it. I believe the one that we supply is the same as what NYSERDA
Yeah, I've
has.
done one with that.
Okay. And then the second step is to sign a resolution to work with Jewel so that we can begin to work with you and begin to work on public education and all of that.
So at the very least, we would set a public hearing next time for the law.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing. You had mentioned, I believe, at your last presentation, and you alluded to just a moment ago, you expect actually this solar energy or this clean energy would actually be slightly cheaper than the energy we're currently buying from Orange and Loughlin?
Okay.
I just wanted you to
Good
give me a
question.
sense of
Okay, so the community, so remember that there are two aspects to the program, kind of like two branches on the same tree. So the community solar program is a guaranteed discount. Currently, that guaranteed discount is close to 10%. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be around that, either slightly less, slightly more, something like that. So what Jewel commits to doing is beating the price looking back. Keep in mind that Jewel's price is fixed. The price for Orange and Rockland fluctuates from one month to the next, so it's very difficult for us to, we can't tell you that we can guarantee that the price will be lower because we don't know what the price will be for Orange and Rockland. So far in this program, the cost I think has been about the 21,300 households on renewable and small businesses on renewable energy have saved I think it's close to $560,000, so over $500,000. Over,
collectively.
I think it's 9 months.
Collectively.
Collectively, of course, yes.
Is there a best time to opt into the program, when prices are higher or lower? I mean, I would imagine it would be lower.
Right, Michael and I were just on the phone today with the director of Jewel Community Power, Glenn Weinberg. That's part of what they do, that's their expertise. They're going to advise the communities, they want you to get the best rate that they can give you. So they're going to advise on the best rate to come in. They totally know the marketplace. They put out, at some point, they begin to look into what's the marketplace going to be in the next few months. So they're going to advise you, this isn't a good time, this is, or
Right,
we think,
okay.
that's what we do. I should mention one other thing that hasn't been mentioned so far, and that is that Jewel also advises communities. If Suffern has an interest in a renewable energy project, perhaps on municipal property, something like over parking lots, on a big building, something like that, Jewel will advise the community on siting, on RFPs. We'll look over the RFPs. We'll look over the bids for you. We'll really work with the community to
That's
advise, because that's their area of expertise.
Okay.
I think that's a nice
Yeah, that is.
extra benefit, yeah.
Okay. I know we looked at it in the past, but with the fire department, with the roofs on the fire department and the village hall.
I know they worked with Clarkstown.
Mhm.
Clarkstown put in for a grant. They didn't get the grant, but I'm sure they're gonna go back circle back for that again, so.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
sounds good. Thank
Just-
you.
Just one more question. So you had given me a rough guesstimate that there was like $500,000 or so saved for
More than
20,
about 560,000, yeah.
for
Yeah.
20 some odd thousand residents,
Mhm.
right? So I didn't do the math, but like, can you just give me a ballpark, like per customer, what is that? Is that,
I think it's
$24.
Yeah, I think it comes to a little bit more than that, about $28, $29. It's not a lot
per year? Or no, for
Yeah.
9
Per year.
months? That was for 9 months though,
for 9 months, yeah.
so even a little more.
But keep in mind that the goal of the program, that I've kind of boiled it down to, is to transition, to help communities
Sure.
make the necessary transition that we all know we have to make. As
It's not
Trustee
really about
Barone-
saving money, it's
Trustee
about.
Barone-
No, I know that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for
But
those who
without-
might be skeptical,
but-
like, that's another thing that they might be interested in,
Right,
that they'd
but-
also save money.
To make that transition, but without raising rates.
Yes.
People who sign up for ESCOs, like Clean Choice or
Yeah.
Green Mountain or Direct
Mhm.
Energy,
They're all
that,
higher.
they all have a negative experience. You have to be
Right.
the kind of person who really stays on top of your
Right.
contracts, otherwise you're gonna see big rate increases. There's none of that in this program.
I've priced out ESCOs, you know, I've been looking at it, I never
Mhm.
went with it, because I've priced them out for years, like 10, 20 years, I've been looking at this, and it's always a worse deal to go with the ESCOs, so I'm always very skeptical, and that's why I'm talking to you
It's
more
bait and switch.
about the
They give you a
number.
good deal to bring you
Yeah.
in.
No, and they
Yeah.
usually specify what that bad deal is, they're like, well, we'll give you this for 3 months, and then you pay that, and I do the math, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible, terrible, and, you know, so I welcome
You're actually,
your.
one big aspect of the program, okay,
Yeah.
is consumer protection.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. You're really helping to protect your
Yes,
business.
absolutely,
that's
we
great.
agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Terrific.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
There
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the first thing listed is about the Lafayette Theater noise permit application. I have not received anything. I did, I think I mentioned last time, I emailed,
Yes.
what was the last meeting? I mentioned to Mr. Rice. I emailed Mr. Rice and asked him for, to make a formal application. I haven't received anything yet, so that may come in. Next one, I've been working with the village clerk regarding filming fees. Some things have come up. The filming fees have actually been working very well since this was implemented. And we all know about a lot of filming being taking place in the village. One thing that came up, sometimes things are a little inconsistent in terms of the fees and also the amounts. The amounts are actually in the local law. What Lisa Ann and I discussed would make things a little easier would be to have the permit fee schedule be added to the list of fees that be set by resolution instead of in the law itself, so we didn't have to amend the law every time. And Lisa Ann, I don't know if you want to address what some of the issues were that just came up.
Sure. So there was we have a lot of interest in a lot of smaller productions in the village. So their budgets are not as large as a Netflix production. So the way our fee structure currently is, it eats up a lot of their budget. So if we could just make small adjustments in there with the amount of people, and then maybe add or increase the fee structure, instead of going from, I think now it's like 0 to 3, and then it's like 10 to 15, right? Is that what it is?
3 to
15. So if we can do the 0 to 3, and then maybe 3 to 8, or 3 to 10, and then just add another layer in there, it won't be so absorbent for a smaller production to come in, which would help us get a little bit more revenue.
So if the board were amenable to that, we would do something to set a public hearing to amend the law, to just say the permit fee schedule, and I would just say it shall be set by resolution of the village board. And then you'd set it, and again, if after 6 months, you know, Lisa Ann said, look, we're losing a lot of opportunities, or maybe we need to increase it or decrease it, it can be done by resolution.
Thank you for being on top of it.
All right, yes. Thank Lisa Ann.
Thank you, Lisa.
Actually, I'm going to jump into the trustee thing after this. The special meeting September 30th at 5 p.m. via Zoom with the comprehensive planner. That's really to set up just, you know, he's gonna run the meeting, Max Stack is his name, as you know. Just to lay out a game plan, if you will, roadmap of what's gonna happen. The one thing I'll just mention here, and I'll mention at the meeting also, there's two ways to go. One is to have a comprehensive plan committee appointed by the board to meet with the comprehensive planner and then present the comprehensive plan almost, if you will, ready to go to the board. My preference is that this board will be the committee. I mean, everything's open to the public can see what's going on, the public, certainly be public outreach. My concern with the committee is, you know, the elected officials are sitting here, you're the ones who have the vision for the village. You know, you may appoint a committee, may not share it, I don't know. Certainly there'll be an internal committee, you know, with the building inspector, village clerk, village attorney, et cetera, that will, you know, deal with more of the day-to-day issues, but that's something to discuss with Max at the meeting. But that'll be this Thursday via Zoom. Again, it's open to the public, of course, because it's a public meeting, and it's not an executive session type situation, but you know, it'll be treated like a workshop.
The link, has it already been sent? Or
I think I emailed it around.
Yeah,
I emailed it around.
I got that
If
one.
you don't have it yet.
I don't know why.
I got a notice, I didn't look to see if the link.
Maybe, you know what, sometimes when you hit accept, it ends up in your calendar.
Because it was the same thing.
Oh, it's not me. Yes.
Next, I'll jump into the trustees item about the special use permit application for home occupation. This is typically if somebody wishes to have a home occupation, it's granted by special permit issued by the village board based upon an application. I looked at this and I reviewed the file, and I spoke with Steve Conley, who was actually, the board may not have to do this, and likely probably doesn't have to do this, for this particular property. This was a property that used to be Oliveri Chiropractic on 108 Washington. It was sold in 1993 or 1994. Person had a business there. It's having a business in a residential combined. What ended up happening, the inspectors went last year and there was no business there. Then they wanted to come in and put a business back, but they treated it as if it was a non-conforming and they didn't have a special permit. However, I found in the property file in 1993, they actually obtained from the ZBA a use variance, which is difficult to get, granting them maintenance and use of a two-family dwelling and professional offices. So this will likely be withdrawn.
Okay.
That's it. Sorry for the long explanation. But I get paid by the word. And that's it.
No, one more. Just the schedule of fees in general.
Fee schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry, the fee schedule. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, in looking at the filming, I also looked at our schedule of fees and reached out to some of the different department heads, and it seems that our fee schedule has not been updated. It was first on 2005, some of them, the earliest is 2014. So in my previous position, we just updated the fee schedule back in 2018, and Village of Montebello just updated theirs this year in 2020. So I am getting together a comparison of all of the local municipalities, because obviously our fee schedule is extremely low since we haven't updated it since then, which will then again generate more revenue for the village.
That's great.
Excellent.
And put it all in one spot. It's kind of
Correct, and do it at
a
the
little
same
bit of a
time, yeah.
mishmash.
All right, thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you again.
Trustees?
I have nothing.
Just wanted to follow up, Mr. Magrino had mentioned that indeed it was 2 spots, at the, which is what I recalled and what I watched the March meeting to confirm. It was 2 spots by 27 Chestnut that were set aside as the spots for loading and unloading. And I didn't check in the last week or 2, but when I last checked about 3 weeks ago, there were 3 spots set aside for that purpose. So my question is, when is that going to be corrected?
I guess it's a question for DPW.
And it may have already been corrected, because I haven't been over there in a few weeks.
Did
It hasn't been corrected because I haven't got any guidance besides emails.
Well, in regards to the low board, it says 2 spots are in front of.
It says,
Yeah, that's the thing, it's a matter of my interpretation, and I
Right.
think
it says,
others as well. The way it's written is 20, in front of 25 and 27 Chestnut. So in front of 25 and 27 Chestnut, there's 3 spots. So I would just, if you wanted to, if that was the inclination of the board, then I think you need to change the verbiage slightly. Say 2 spots, I mean, because, you know, anyone that looks at that is gonna interpret it the same way. Particularly the
Well, would you
property
take my
owner that's at
interpretation?
25, 27, right?
Yes.
I trust Mr. Magrino's interpretation, which I
Hold on.
believe
Let me
was
just look
clear.
at the email so I can make sure exactly what was said. Because it did come out a little differently, I think, than what was originally put on there. This is a little pressure looking at this. You want to move on to something else?
Well, it's still going to have a negative impact on Chestnut Street, whichever way we go, because of that section that's in between the Sheldon and Tiger Chef, that no parking piece that's about, I don't know, 15 feet wide. So I think we also need to, if we amend chapter 254, to amend it to reflect no standing, parking, or stopping. Is that correct, Chief?
Correct.
Because right now, I think it's just deemed no parking.
Right, which
So-
means that they can actually legally stop there and load and unload
Right.
passengers and cargo.
As long as they were actively loading and unloading. And at that point, where the trucks would be, the front of the truck is causing the inability for people leaving the Sheldon to see. Their line of sight is obstructed.
Yeah, just keep in mind, you had 2 parking spaces is 40 feet. So 40 feet for a loading zone is inadequate.
Well, how big are the trucks that the restaurant uses?
70 foot? How big are they, Joe? Did we measure them?
Yeah, 70 to 85 feet, and then the small box trucks are 55 feet. So when you get a tractor trailer and a box truck the same day, you're screwed.
So Anna, what is the benefit of taking away 1 spot?
Well, we had discussed it at the meeting at length.
So,
Yeah, but did you?
we did go out numerous times and look at it. I went with the police chief, I went with Joe, I went to Sawicki. So what we were thinking, we're gonna have to really closely scrutinize it now, is if we were able to put another spot on the other side of the street. I don't know if we were able to, did we?
We didn't do it yet because you told me to wait until we get the whole
Right.
block straightened out.
We have to look at that sight line, if we could add 1 more spot across the street. So if we do, whatever the interpretation is here from Mr. Magrino, 3 or 2, if it's 2, and we have the ability to add a spot on the other side of the street, I think we should do that, and then amend the code to put in a no stopping, standing, parking.
I think, yeah, looking at I agree, the language could be clearer, but knowing the legislative history, in that it was specifically discussed, I would say it's 1 in front of 25 and 1 in front of 27.
Right.
That was the intention.
And I know we discussed it at length, that it would be 2 spots. I know that I was very clear before
I can put it in
before I
writing.
put my vote in.
Okay.
Well, I'm just thinking that not only myself, but the property owner, is there a possibility for him to challenge that once we take out
Yes.
the spot?
Sure.
So,
We only did what we were told to do.
No,
at the
it's no
beginning.
blame, it's not written,
It's been a work in
I
progress.
say it's not written well in the law, but knowing and frankly, the last draft that I found, it was clear, I think I said that.
the other issue is
It said
that,
Chestnut Street, 27, 2 spaces, only in front of Tiger Chef building. That's what I had written originally. So what got sent to I'm not sure what happened in terms of when it got sent, but again, legislative history, I think that ends what was discussed. That was the intention, 25 and 27, 2 spaces, only in front of Tiger Chef building. So that'd be 1 and 1, right? Are you guys?
You would consider 2 spots in front of Tiger Chef and 1 spot in front of 25 closer to the barber shop.
Yeah, those three spots.
very
where you just-
deceiving.
That's where the
It is.
complaint comes. I mean.
Yeah, but that's why that third spot closest to Lafayette encroaches onto the next address.
In
And,
between the alley,
well, yes,
property line.
I know.
Well, here's the issue. That's just descriptive, it's not going based, you know, it's, so I will send an email tomorrow to clarify what it is. If you guys want it to be changed, the board can change it.
Is it a safety issue?
Yes.
Is it a safety issue for the truck drivers, or is it a safety issue for people pulling out?
I would
Well,
say
everybody-
both, everybody.
That's-
I can
Chief,
jump
what
in
would-
really
Chief.
both because I understand what you're saying about the 2 spots opposed to 3, but, so the way it is now with the 3 spots, that would be, I would say, the bare minimum they would need to accommodate a full-size, they get quite a few full-size tractor trailer deliveries.
But along with that other section,
The problem that
closest-
we have now is that section that you described between Chestnut Street, I'm sorry, between Tiger Chef and the Sheldon, where they're currently parking, because it's technically not illegal, they're sometimes completely blocking the Sheldon's exit onto Blauvelt and onto Chestnut Street. And even when they're not completely blocking it, like we actually tested it, you have to walk all the way out until almost the second lane of traffic to be able to see northbound, it would be southbound traffic, to see traffic coming by. So it's a dangerous situation there. They shouldn't be parking there at all. I definitely recommend changing that one section of no stopping, standing parking. The problem is if you do that, then the 2 spaces, and you leave it that it's only 2 spaces, you have given them no option to unload a tractor trailer there. So what I can see happening is they're just gonna stop in the middle of the street and start unloading, and it's gonna become an enforcement issue at that point.
So for immediate purposes, could we get a no stopping, standing sign there
We
for
have all
right
the
now?
ammo you guys want, we're just waiting for point of
But
finger. on
for
what
immediate,
you
till
want us
this
to do.
gets ironed out, can we at least do that so that
We have temporary
That would need a
barriers to hold
change.
signs.
Change
Now,
the
we
law.
have to change
Change the
the
law.
What about
we
that-
can't
that
just do it as an emergency
that area-
Well,
situation?
if there's an emergency situation.
Yeah, why can't we do it as an
That
emergency
area which we're
situation?
discussing where you want the no standing and stopping, okay, would that not be useful to, if we have to extend, at least on a temporary basis, extend the loading area forward instead of backward?
now
When
we're
you ex-
adding to the dangerous
Yeah,
condition.
when you
Yeah.
extend it into, and I'd be happy to
But the
walk
truck's
out.
only there for minutes and, you know,
No,
like half hour.
sometimes they're unloading pallets and, you know,
Yeah, they could be there
it's
forever.
a major site problem with that truck there, all the way up by the Sheldon. And like I said, sometimes they're extended to the point, best case scenario, there's only one truck, so they'll park there, and then the people have, either can't get out at all, or can't see to get out, and they're kind of, you know, edging out and then making a
But
quick turn.
the Sheldon does have another exit onto.
No, not from the ground level.
Nothing.
Yeah, those
The underground
exits
level.
are separate for
I
two
see.
different parking areas, so they have no other option.
Is there a specific time that's worse?
It's, the problem is, and we've discussed it with the owner of Tiger Chef, some deliveries they have the ability to control, some they have no ability whatsoever. You know, we've asked them, can you try to have box trucks as opposed to tractor trailers? And what they're telling us is, the shipper's the shipper, they send what they, you know, they have to make it economically feasible for them to send these deliveries, and if that's on a tractor trailer, that's what they have. They have no control over that. Sometimes the problem that we see is, you know, if you get a tractor trailer there, and then you get another box truck and a FedEx truck, sometimes they stack deliveries up. It boils down to, it's really not a good spot for that type of, you know, the volume that they do. I don't know an easy answer for it.
Warehouses in the hardest answer.
There you go.
I want to let you all know today that they unloaded a tractor trailer on Orange Ave at the corner of Blauvelt Way today, and they were hand trucking them down Blauvelt Way.
No kidding.
Dead serious. I should have took a picture, but I was too busy running.
Wow.
They get a
New
lot
way
of
to deliver
deliveries.
to Iron Chef.
There's always somebody there. Anytime you walk past them, always.
So I'll shoot you an email on that tomorrow, but if you want to change anything else, I can, you guys gotta let me know.
Can we, for immediate purposes, do an emergency signage, Rob?
Well, I don't know about a permanent sign. I mean, what's your intent, chief, in terms of the situation about putting a no stopping, you know, temporarily until we change the law?
As far as enforcement wise?
Yeah.
I think the village has the authority
Oh, no,
under an
no.
emergency situation, correct?
I'm sorry, yes. What about implementing it? Are you guys, is that something you are recommending?
Yes. Yeah, I think in the long term, I think permanently the code should be amended for that to be a permanent no stopping standing parking.
Right. Can, again, I'm going mostly by memory, maybe someone, can you guys send me like or maybe even a picture, I don't know. I mean, I just want to be able to describe it.
Description of the
where we
piece.
want, what we want and where, you know, like, I don't know who would be the one to lay it out and say, this is what we want, is, no stopping, and this is what
100
we-
feet north of, yeah, like
Yeah,
100
yeah.
feet north of, Orange Avenue to
Get that to.
Yeah, if you can
120
put that
feet
together,
north of
and
Orange
then
Avenue.
we'll send it again. Set the public
But
hearing.
just going back to what Trustee Alpert was talking about, if the board does decide to change that or enforce it that it's 2 spots as the loading zone, I don't know
They
how
can't
they're
work
gonna
with
unload a
that.
tractor
They're not gonna be
trailer.
able
There's no
they-
way.
They wouldn't be able to unload a tractor trailer anyway if we make that no stopping standing parking. There's still not
Even
enough
if you had
room.
3
If
for a
they
loading
had the
zone?
3 spots and the
That's
distance
20,
in
40,
front of their
60,
building
80.
to that spot, no.
We're still intruding on the entrance and exit to that with the 75-foot
Yeah.
truck and trailer.
Entrance and exit
I
to
don't know
what?
what the answer is.
But at least it's
How about on
it's
the other side?
protecting us, it's an enforcement, then it becomes an enforcement issue, so if the truck is in there, you can give them a summons.
Right.
I've got something. What about on the other side of the street? Could we do something there?
So
to
the
enable
other
a
side of
tractor
the street, the
trailer?
problem, you have a couple problems there. Number one, you have the fire hydrant there. Number two,
Kids
tractor
park.
trailers would not be able to turn around to make that delivery.
That's
The-
true.
The bridge there is too
It's
long,
too
you
low.
can't
You're
get
right.
into that.
Perfect
The
answer.
Loughlin way is a one-way.
Yes, perfect answer.
So
And you have a kids park right there.
I don't know
Is
what.
there something that can be done with the
And a whole
shelter?
bunch of businesses that are doctors and,
Like
The ice.
iron shop.
you have the ice factory right there that has kids.
You know, take a
No,
look
you're
at
right.
it again. Well, how about we take another look at it again and really, I mean, we've been out there so many times, so let's take another look at it this week and then we'll finalize it and present something
Okay.
at the board meeting.
Just let me know ahead of time.
Yes. Okay, I'm good. Anybody else?
Nope.
I was gonna have a discussion in regards to code enforcement and the code enforcement officers, enabling them to write specific summonses, which they already have the authority to do so, so I'm gonna just remove that off the agenda. And that's it.
Motion to
Motion
adjourn
to
then?
close.
I want to ask something.
Go ahead.
Did we miss that discussion about a COLA? Did I miss that?
What?
Yes.
Oh, I said, that was the one about the special permit and the variance. She has a variance already, so she doesn't need to apply for the special permit, we think. Steve Conley's gonna take another look at it, the building inspector.
Now, I have a question actually about that though. So the variance was provided to a previous owner. Is that something that would continue with the new owner?
Yes.
Okay.
Is
I'll
it
ask- I'll defer to the two
Yes.
Yeah.
prior ZBA
Grandfathered in,
members.
zoning board does
It runs with the land.
Perfect.
Okay, motion to close.
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.